It's off to Leonard, defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger?
Who to give credit to in regards to a professional sports team being good is a bit of a touchy subject. Because in the minds of many, including the players, it's the on-the-field or court team that does everything because they make the plays, get the points, and get the wins or losses. However, others feel that the executives deserve just as much credit for bringing in the players and coaches to make the team and get the wins. Who is right is up for debate. Except in the case of Masai Ujiri, because he is absolutely one of the biggest reasons the Toronto Raptors have been so good over the last decade. Allow us to show you 7 reasons why Masai Ujiri is the best executive in the NBA. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Number 7. Humble beginnings. Something that cannot be said enough about an executive is their mindset, because there are multiple kinds of personalities that an executive can have, and not all of them are good. Just ask the New York Knicks. But when it comes to Masai Ujiri, he's noted that he's just happy to be here, and his humble beginnings show why that is. Born in Bournemouth, England, and raised in northern Nigeria, Ujiri rarely focused on basketball growing up because the national obsession was soccer. But when he joined his friends for a trip to the university soccer field, instead of walking past the basketball court uninterrupted, they'd shoot into the hoop on their way to play ball. Over time, Ujiri would spend longer on the court and less time on the field, a sign of things to come if you can't tell. His passions changed, and he knew he wanted to explore the American sport further. He competed in the European circuit, playing competitively in England, Belgium, and Germany, amongst other countries, but told CNN he never felt good enough as a player and wanted to try coaching instead. This led him to being a scout and understanding the basics of looking for good talent for teams.
You know what? Was so happy to be here. As you can see, Team Africa is playing, but I started off with the basketball camps. It's been exciting. What an unbelievable group of kids, so much energy, great size, and so eager to learn.
Number 6, his time as a scout. His talent identification skills led him to a scouting role in 2002, but to start this new career path, he had to work for free for the Orlando Magic, which is not something you'd expect to hear from someone who is the head of a team, but that's very much how he started in the NBA, and he's not afraid to discuss it. Everybody would go up to their 5-star hotel, and I would sneak to my $20 a night motel, he told CNN, but he was just getting started. After being introduced to Denver Nuggets GM Kiki Vandeweghe, Ujiri was brought on board as a salaried international scout. A few years later, he was hired as Director of Global Scouting for the Toronto Raptors and became the team's assistant GM in 2008 before staging a repeat appearance with the Nuggets a couple of years later, this time as GM and Executive Vice President heading basketball operations. He helped reverse the team's fortunes as they were back in the playoffs. In 2013, he was tabbed as NBA Executive of the Year. The same year, he inked a 5-year, $15 million deal to become the Raptors' Executive Vice President and General Manager. It may seem odd to some to focus on things like this, but it's vital because he is very much a man who has had all sorts of experiences, both good and bad, and that has turned him into even more of a leader.
Hey, these guys are unbelievable. It's all about the players and the coaches. They put everything out there on the court, and it was great to see them. I work for a great organization and great owners. It's such a huge opportunity, and I'm just thankful.
Number 5, his time with the Raptors. As we noted, him becoming the GM and Executive Vice President of the Raptors wasn't his first time with the team, but rather his second. He would note later on that he very much saw a lot of potential in Toronto in terms of a basketball franchise and wanted to help bring it out more. When I looked at Toronto, I could see the potential of what a good team could look like, whether that was the fan base, the people, the city. It's beautiful and has diversity. That mindset led him and the Raptors to greatness. Ujiri has been the creative force behind the most successful period in Raptors history: division titles, deep playoff runs, and a consistent place among the NBA's elite, have characterized his version of the Toronto Basketball Club. Never stagnating and always thinking on his feet, Ujiri is always looking for ways to better an already impressive team, which of course culminated in the 2018-2019 season of the NBA, where the Raptors went and won the NBA title for the first time, making Ujiri the happiest man in the world in all sorts of ways. Number 4. Eye for talent. As noted, Masai Ujiri was a talent scout for multiple clubs, including the Magic and the Nuggets. But when he became an executive for the Raptors, he knew he couldn't put those scouting skills away. He had to not just make good draft choices and trade choices, but he had to go and get players that no one wanted, but had the potential to be legendary. A great example of this is Fred VanVleet. After an incredible 4 years at Wichita State, Fred VanVleet had exceeded all expectations placed on him. With multiple All-American nominations and Final Four appearances, the Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year had no shortage of accolades upon graduation. But he wasn't picked by any NBA team, mainly because of his 6'1" height. But then, Ujiri saw his talent and brought him to the Raptors Summer League, then to the main team where he became one of their most valuable bench players, even being runner-up for 6th Man of the Year in their title season. Or how about OG Anunoby? An injury in college made GMs gun-shy about picking him up, thinking he would continue to get injuries. But after Ujiri picked him up, he was able to get him on the court and make him a key part of their title-winning team.
Let's thank these unbelievable players here for bringing this championship. I want to thank the fans, the people of Canada, and all over the world that have supported the Toronto Raptors. I have no doubt in my mind that we will win in Toronto, and we will win some more in Toronto.
Number 3. The hard choices. One of the reasons that many executives will say they're vital to NBA title runs is that at times it's them and not the players that make the hardest decisions. And a great example of this came via a key coach and a key player. Dwayne Casey was the coach that helped the Raptors, under Ujiri, make a big push in the Eastern Conference. He even got them to the Eastern Conference Finals once against the Cavaliers, with LeBron James during his second run with the team, and multiple times got them into the number 1 or number 2 seed in the playoffs. But despite this, they just couldn't push through, and Ujiri refused to stay stagnant. So despite Casey being the Coach of the Year in 2018, he was fired, and Nick Nurse replaced him, who happened to be the coach that led the team to the title. Then, there was Andrea Bargnani, who was supposed to be the hero for Toronto and leading them to victory, but instead, he was overpaid and his production declined after his best season in 2010-2011. Ujiri could see that this wasn't going to work, and he had to make a move to save his team. Bargnani had 3 years left on his $50 million deal. In a trade with the New York Knicks, Ujiri returned Marcus Camby, Steve Novak, Quentin Richardson, and a litany of draft picks, which set him up for number 2, making big moves. The line between genius and fool is razor thin, especially when it comes to sports. A trade or a draft pick can be brilliant or terrible depending on what the player does, and it's all on the exec, no matter what. In the 2018-2019 season prelude, Ujiri knew he had to make a big play or else, especially after firing Dwayne Casey. He was willing to risk it all to get Kawhi Leonard, even if it meant losing fan favorite player DeMar DeRozan. Fans were not happy at first when the trade was made, but they would be soon enough, as Leonard had something to prove, and he absolutely did prove his worth on the court. But Ujiri didn't stop there. At the trade deadline, he knew the team still needed that little something extra, and that led him to go and get Marc Gasol to shore up their defense. These big moves were criticized, and yet both Leonard and Gasol were vital in them winning the NBA title. And Ujiri proved that sometimes you have to take big risks to get those big rewards. Number 1, grace under pressure. On what should have been the greatest night of his life, Ujiri was given a harsh reminder of the hatred that still burns in people's souls. During Game 6 of the NBA Finals, when his Raptors beat the Golden State Warriors, Ujiri tried to go onto the court to go celebrate with the team, but when he did, a security guard refused to let him pass. Ujiri tried to explain who he was and that he had credentials, But the guard not only didn't listen, but he continued to shove Ujiri back with more and more force. What's more, after the incident, the guard tried to sue Ujiri for damages and injuries, and it took well over a year for the body cam footage to be shown to prove that it was the guard and not Ujiri who instigated the event. Ujiri kept his composure throughout this incident, and that shows true class. But the fact that he had to endure this at all is tragic. So what do you think? What do you think of this look at Masai Ujiri and how he went and turned the Toronto Raptors from a middling NBA team to one of the consistently great NBA squads in recent memory and 2019 NBA champs? Were you surprised to hear this much about Ujiri and how he affected the team and its victories? Are you a bigger fan of the Raptors because of what you've heard about Ujiri? Let us know in the comments below. Please be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.
We wanted to win in Toronto, and we have won in Toronto! Yeah!